My name is Abina Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it!
From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And I am Asonisie, and this is Focus on Liberia. This is our program between the hairline, seated and ready to roll for the discussion on the topic, Liberia's 2025 National Budget Assessment. We are here to assess the budget sometime in January 6, 2025. We believe that the government of Liberia got done with the budget, and ever since then we've not seen it. But it is now out now, and we have been reading the numbers, we've been reading the budget, and it's more like business as usual from my assessments of the budget. The focus has always been more money on recurring expenses, and when it comes to capital investment, they put peanuts there. No wonder why the conditions in the country remain the same. Whereas the officials of government, they are getting the fattiest portion of the budget. J. Victor Namwe is Focus on Liberia political analyst. He's well seated. He's a veteran. Mr. Namwe, it's good to see you. Welcome. How you doing?
Hey, Mr. Sear, thank you. It's good to see you as well. It's good to be here. What's up, Dr. Pearson?
Nice to meet you.
Dr. Pearson is a new progressive commentator who does not hold by his views. He can be analytical, he can be tough, and he does it for our dear country, Liberia. Like him, we all want to see our country in a good place, but he comes out so tough. I enjoyed the last show with you and Dennis when he was pushing you back. You were saying, look, I hope President Bwaka, accountable. I was in the back and enjoying the show. I actually enjoyed that debate. You did excellently well, I should say. But welcome, my friend. How you doing? Are you ready for this discussion on the budget?
Look, Mr. C, it's a pleasure being on tonight. I want to say hi to my fellow panelists, Mr. Namwe, and all of those who are listening and viewing. It's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to a good discussion.
And a good discussion we will have today on this budget, and so to our friends who are following us in radio land. And by the way, we are getting on the radio, people. We are getting on the radio. And so, folks in cyberspace, do us that favor. We are putting in a time to discuss national issue in a more substantive way. We want you to play your part, not only listen, but be much more active. Share the show with somebody. Let us dissect the budget a little bit. We're not going to cover it. It's a big, huge document. We can't, discuss it all in just one show. But we will do our best today to discuss the budget. And talking about that, Dr. Pearson, let me get started with you here. You have seen the budget. I've seen you, put some numbers together and share it for us to read and also digest. What is your general assessment of the budget? Is it better than the previous budget? Is it better than any other government budget that we've seen in the past? What is your general assessment? And how do you look at the allotment, the appropriation of the budget? Do you think it is in line with this rescue mission? Is it a rescue budget based on your assessment so far?
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure being on the show tonight. And
I will take you to task. I'm answering.
Yeah, Mr. C. It's a pleasure being on the show tonight. Sorry about that. Yeah, you're right. We've been going through the budget since it was passed and made available to us. Let me just make a disclaimer here. We should be quick to mention that this budget originated from a questionable process from a lower house, what we call the lower house, the House of Representatives, that has a leadership that is unconstitutional. And so we still believe that the budget is unconstitutional. But however, since they're using it, it is just fair enough that we can discuss it. All right. So, like your first question is, is it better than what we've had before? No. We are in in the same situation we're in 20 years back. And we're just in a cycle now. Let me say why. Since we came out of the Liberian civil crisis, trying to get back from a post-conflict situation, our budget has always been a dead budget, and that's how I've turned to name it since I started critiquing our budgets from Ellen time to Weah time to now President Boyka time. When I say dead budget, the budget does not have any potential for growth across our industry, across our different sector, to say that if we spend this money, this is going to yield dividends in this area. So no, that's not the situation of our current budget over the years. So like you mentioned, and I just want to point out quickly for the listening audience, there are 4 areas when we start to discuss the national budget that we need to be aware of. We want to first of all know where we're coming from in terms of our debt. All right, so this current 2025 budget has a debt burden of debt stack, as we can call it, of $2.6 billion. $1 billion, which is for the 1.39% of that debt, is domestic, and then 1.5 billion, which is 58.6%, is foreign. Compared to last year, it was around the total of 2.3 billion around there. So which means we went up by another 0.3 billion, which is sad for us. And then we, at the time, we had when it comes to foreign debt, a burden that we had, we're just around how you call it? No, not 90. I'm having a look oversight. I'm looking at something else. Okay, 2.4 last year, and then we have 1 billion for domestic debt and 1.4 billion for foreign debt. But Dennis, this is what is unique about this section, just for the educational purpose. Our 2025 debt burden heavily rely on, for domestic debt, rely on Central Bank of Liberia, which we owe, like the creditor, we owe the Central Bank around 740 million, which is 69% of the domestic debt, 1 billion. And then we owe also NASCOP. You remember NASCOP keep coming up? Since President Boyka, we credited for NASCOP up to $111 million, 10% of our debt for domestic debt. So what does that mean for the common people? What does that mean for us as we have this conversation? Is that the more we owe Central Bank, that tells you we are digging hole to cover who? Meaning we are not getting the kind of revenue we need to cover all of the elaborate expenses we are making. So we're crediting from central bank, when we credit it from central bank, what we are doing in essence is that two things could happen. We are either digging into our reserve, or we are liquidating, or we are getting rid of the trust, the collateral that other private banks put into central bank. Say, keep this money for us when we go broke, then you can bail us out on this to pay our customers if we're trying to close down. So two things could be happening there. We don't know which of the which of those two is actually being impacted. And when you look at the commercial bank that we owe for 2025, we owe them over $200 million, commercial bank. So what does that mean in simple terms for the ordinary people is that when government itself owe that much money to the commercial bank, then the commercial bank does not have the liquidation, the power to feed other entrepreneurs, other citizens who want to credit from the bank. So the bank is that, what I mean, the country owes us too much, the government owes us too much already. We can't risk giving more money out to private creditor. So that's how it affects the economy. And another thing you want to look at for the education of our audience is that you want to look at what we call the two major lenses, like my glasses on my eye, you get one so. When we look at the budget, we want to see what is the recurring expenditure, like the Mr. C said, and what is the public investment section. So the recurring means when we spend on salary, furniture, and things like that, which is debt investment, ain't going to come back to us. And the public investment is the one that when we put the money in the country, it comes back in a year result and come back either through goods and services that will yield more results for us or make our life better. This budget, Dennis, you'll be surprised to know that our recurring expense went up, is currently at 2025, 87.9% of the entire budget, 87.9% going to go in smoke, as that man can say, it going in smoke, ain't coming back. And what's going to come back to us that they gave for public investment is just 12%, Dennis. 12, Mr. C, 12%. Compared to last year, it was 91% recurring, and then 9% public investment. And then I will close by saying this, then, Mr. C. Can you imagine if you look at a graph, like the bar graph, like you draw a cycle and you cut spaces in it,
right? 42%
of this entire, now you see, sometimes they fool us, they make us think that the budget is going to do more, like hospital, help schools, and help this. But listen, for almost 50%, 42% of that budget is only going on compensation. So which means it's going people pocket, and we'll talk more later on. And then 18% goes for what we call goods and services. So the total of 60% of the entire budget this year is going for in people pocket, and going to buy chairs and table and computer and paper and printers. I will stop there for now.
Dr. Pearson, thank you there. J. Victor Namwe, your general assessment of the budget, and I will participate in the discussion as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. C, and thank you, Dr. Pearson. I'm not going to be as one case as Dr. Pearson has been with the numbers and all of that. I'm not a budget guy. I'm just, I take what pops out in me, and I will spend a little bit of time on what he's ended with, which is that portion of the budget that's going to just salaries, entertainment, travels, benefits. You were asking, how is this budget better than last year's? I think this budget is woefully worse than last year's. The last year's budget, we kind of give them a pass on it because it was largely a carryover. The budget was practically handed to them. They came into office, and in no time they were under constraint to turn in the budget. There were deadlines, and so they didn't have that much time to put their own fingerprints on this budget. So it was kind of understandable. But this current budget is what they developed themselves, right? They took their own time to prepare this budget. And Dr. Pearson is right. Out of the $880 million, $773 million is going to just recurrent expenditure. So that's about 88% of the budget. And it leaves us only 12% to do everything else, including take care of the hospitals, including, funding research, including funding education, investment. How is that possible? So yes, this budget really is a disappointment in that this budget is supposed to represent now this government's aspiration, where they want to take us, because they say, your budgetary allocations tell your priorities. So what are these government's priorities? Is it just to pay people? People go to work every day, you pay them, you send them to travel and all of this. And I will go. I'm sure we'll talk about it later on. But they now have this. They're part of epidemic coming on. Almost every president lately has had their own, international challenges. Mr. Shirley had to deal with Ebola. President we had to deal with COVID. This aid cut by the U.S. government or aid suspension might be their part of national, international catastrophe to deal with. How are they going to handle it when they have only 12% to play with? How? So I'm just really kind of flabbergasted that we are the eighth poorest country in the world, and our pay scale is one of the highest, even higher in many instances than the U.S., which is the world's number one economy. So it is really, in many ways, this budget really tells a lot. And I am hopeful, but I'm beginning to feel what we're getting is going to be the same old for the next 5 years or so. Just telling by this budget that has been given to us.
So Mr. Nawe, is this budget anything close to a budget intended to rescue the conditions in the country, given the way it has been structured?
Yeah, it'll be difficult to make that conclusion, Anthony. I mean, this budget is basically catering to the people who are, already in the government. But there are a lot of people who are not in government who require a lot to get by. We always talk about our, disadvantaged youth. They are in the streets. How are we going to help them if, like Dr. Pearson is saying, if we're putting pittance into the health budget, mental health is a problem. How are we going to deal with that? How are we supposed to do the roads? How are we supposed to do any of these things when we're working on a 12% budget? Everything else is in that 12%. So it is very difficult to see how this is going to impact, the dire straits that our people are in, and a lot of people are going to bed hungry every day in Liberia. That is a fact. I mean, we all go to Monrovia, we see, the suffering in the streets. So it is difficult to reach that conclusion that this budget is going to in any way significantly impact, the plight of our people. Very difficult.
And so I think when I look at the budget, the 12% that Pearson mentioned actually intended for public sector investment. The dollar amount is about $57 million. And so that is the money that is being set aside to invest in the country in services that's supposed to improve services that are used by the ordinary people. And then you look at recurring expenses, pretty close, far above, or a little more above 83%, right? So that's money going in the pockets of government officials. For example, if you look at the president budget alone, he's sitting on 3.4 million. That is the president, office of the president. And you look at the office of the vice president, you are looking at 3.9 million. All right. Now, those are two individuals. And I'll square that with what has been placed in the budget to invest in things that improve human condition, $57 million. Now, if you go further down, you look at Nyomli Kanga Lawrence, and she's getting 1.2 million. The majority bloc speaker, Richard Kuhn, he's getting 1.5. Getting more than Nyomli Kanga Lawrence. Then you have Thomas Fowler, the deputy majority bloc speaker, he's getting 1.2. So if you put all the two, they've been diffused government officials together, they are netting $11 million. That's what they are netting. And I don't know. And another number that was very shocking to me, Mr. Namwe, is that celebration for the office of the president is now $592,555. You are on the rescue mission and you put money in the budget, over $500,000 for celebration in 12 months. So explain to me, this must have some significance. What is this celebration for? When they say celebration for the office of the president, what are they talking about?
I mean, celebration is just that, Mr. C. It's jolly jolly. I can't put it any other way. Yeah, the president entertains guests, I believe. But the Ministry of State, if you look in there, I'm sure it also has its own budget in there to entertain guests. So all of that is for the president to entertain guests. Basically, that's what it is. We all know in Liberia, when the president travels, he gives money out. That money usually is from the coffers, and not from the president entertainment budget. So that budget is basically, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, but that budget is basically for the president to entertain his guests or have himself a good time. That's what it is. That's what it is. Celebration. I don't know if Dr. Pearson has a different.
Yeah, Dr. Pearson, I'm curious here to say for the office of the president celebration. What kind of celebration are they talking about? When they say celebration, what do they mean?
So to be fair to the current administration, there are some things that has to be made clear when it comes to celebration within the confines of the Ministry of State. So we have the our annual Independence Day celebration. I think it comes from within that same Ministry of State budget from somewhere that I'm not sure where. Maybe it's part of the celebration. I know also that when we're having other national events like that, the president goes into that area, and then you come to the trivial things like his birthday, his anniversary, or other entertainment. Like we saw him with the Sierra Leonean president just the other day, or we saw him with the Christmas party the other day. But I think the cardinal question, Mr. CA, is the fact that what is our priority looking at the economic state of the country right now? And, looking at the dire economic condition, other countries around the world, I just got informed today that even EU, European Union, is cutting back. Some European countries cutting back on aid right now in order to meet up with some defense preparation with the US Trump withdrawing money from NATO and other stuff like that, and from the UN. So some European countries right now, as we speak, are cutting down on aid also. So Liberia will soon be hearing from some European countries telling them that certain aid we're providing to you will not be provided going forward, or we'll be cutting back on some support to some local NGOs in Liberia, stuff like that. So we expect the UN to also be doing the same thing, to be telling us, like some of us who got NGOs in Liberia and will be sponsored by UNICEF or UNDP or UN Women, you'll soon be hearing them saying, oh, we're cutting down this other project, we're cutting down this other program. And all of that is coming from the Trump factor, right? So the question, I think the perspective we need to look at, Mr. CA, is that is it even necessary now for us to be talking about entertainment across all government agencies and ministries? I wish I'd be talking about entertainment right now. I don't think we should be talking about entertainment. I think for us right now, this is a national security situation for us right now, because if the country cannot meet up with its annual budget, Mr. CA, and you cannot meet your obligation, let's just take salary, civil servant salary. Or let's take the breakdown of medical supplies in hospitals, because our UNAs are taking care of the logistics for medical supply distribution across Liberia. So that project is closed. America are giving $17 million to strengthen LRA that already supposed to collect the money before the money got shut already. So no money that to strengthen LRA. So LRA may not have the capacity to raise the money we already shut. Plus, there's no money coming again in foreign aid. The question here is, do we need that budget line? Mr. CA, the best answer I can give to you, I want to know what they're going to use it on. We should cut it off.
So then that brings me into this question. The government says aware that they have to put some austerity measures in place because the U.S. government have been, contributing to the budget in the most significant way. Obviously, if they don't cut back this year, they will cut back next year in a most significant way, maybe near zero. And you are talking about other European countries. We heard the finance minister talking about prayer and all that, and also talking about what they can do why these countries that contribute to our budget are pulling back. So what can we do now? What can the government do now to make up for what they will be cutting off? Because they already passed the budget. They're talking about 880 million. Because part of that 80 million is supposed to come from these partners, as they always call them. Now that those funds will not be coming, what do they do? What should we expect? Should we expect a recast budget? Will they have to redo the budget so that they can cut from everybody? What should we expect?
So look, I maybe we'll talk about this in detail later on. What this is a national security concern. I believe you said that, or Dr. Pearson already said that. This is really big, and I'm not sure if our people are giving it, they're recognizing it for the gravity that it deserves. Right. First of all, the U.S. is cutting direct assistance to the government, and then they're cutting assistance to other organizations that also assist us in several different ways. Like he just said, the European Union, the United Nations, all of these monies that come into the government's our government development budget will not be coming. This is big. We had said that the first 17 million, whatever it was, I think today now the finance minister is talking about 51 million. And I am almost certain it is going to go bigger than that. It is a very serious matter. So this president needs to mount the podium and give us, first of all, reassure the nation, because right now people are jittery, people are worried. There's anxiety. It has to come out, reassure the nation. Then you tell us what austerity measures you're taking. I saw some of the measures being announced, cutting gasoline, scratch card. Yeah, they will amount to something. But what about these fabulous salaries? I think that's where the chunk of the money is. So if we have to recognize it for what it is, we have to really embrace it and agree that we have a national emergency and begin to act as such. Yes, I don't want the president and the government to go in panic mode. I understand that, the need, to not to scare people. But it is a fact that we have a national security issue right now that's on the table. And I'm not sure if it's been given the attention that it deserves. By this time, like you're saying, the budget, maybe it has to be recast. And all of these things that you just read, 3 million here to the president's office, 1.5 million to this other person, entertainment here, yes. All of that now, we need to see how we can draw down on all of these things so that we can fill in these gaps that are going to be created by the absence of the funding that came from the U.S. directly and through, other organizations from the U.S. as well.
And Dr. Pearson, the question that comes to my mind now, there's this sense of urgency to cut down on these huge allotments to the governmental bureaucrats, because now America is cutting back. But you and I have been on the road. Look, cut down the budget, cut down the fat salaries, eliminate the scrap card, eliminate the gas. First of all, decide what portion of the budget should go to investment that will improve human condition in the country.
Right.
Can we say, look, 50% of the budget should be intended to invest in our critical sectors so that when the dividends start to come, we will experience growth? We have not been able to do it over the year. It's almost been like, you're asking somebody run to heaven,
right,
and you have one day to do so. That has never happened. So this false, I want to classify as some false sense of urgency here that we have to cut back. We've been on the road from Ellington to Weirton. The people can cut back. Do you believe that this presents an opportunity and it will be done this time around?
And I'm sorry, before Dr. Pearson coming, I'm sorry because I'll forget.
Yeah.
Look, we have in the government, for instance, we have the Financial Intelligence Unit. Mm-hmm. Then we have the Financial Intelligence Authority, right? Mm-hmm. What are we thinking about collapsing some of these agencies? Because there is a duplication of functions. There's a lot of savings to be had there. We have the Anti-Corruption Commission, and then we have the Asset Recovery, and then we have the Ministry of Justice. So we need to take a new look at the way we govern. Yes, people have to work; they got to earn a living, but what is it going to be when we have all these agencies and in a month or two the whole thing collapses under the weight of this expenditure because we can't afford it? That's the kind of thing some of us are looking at. Is that we need deep cutting scalpel to take to the government in order for us to be able to move forward.
Dr. Pearson?
So you can hear me, right?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead.
So listen, this is the radical direction that the country must take, right? For us to make any progress to move the development needle in Liberia, we need to restructure the entire budget. The budget. Now, I'm currently advocating for what I refer to as the national spending bill. That will be differently structured, but I don't have time for that right now. But listen, let me give you one example, Mr. C. When you look at public administration in the budget, that budget line in a summary on the summary page,
right? When
they say public administration, it accounts for $357 million. $357 million. That $357 million is around 41% of the entire budget. But do you know, and many people don't pay attention to the budget like that. Do you know that $347 million that we have, $57 million that we have for that public administration is only referring to 14 institutions? And let me list them for you. National Legislature, Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs, which is the President Office, Office of the Vice President, Civil Service, General Service Agency, Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Liberia Institute for Public Administration, Liberia Institute of Statistics and Geo-Information Services, Bureau of State Enterprises, Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, Liberia Revenue Authority, Board of Tax Appeals, National Food Assistance Agency. 40 institutions take 40% of the Liberian people budget. But those institutions are not institutions that are providing developmental programs that will yield dividend, like you're talking about here just now. So take, for instance, saying that the budget allow for 40% of the entire budget, which is around $300 million, to go directly in education. Let me tell you something. Like that Mr. Nam was saying, even if we dismiss, if we merge some of the entities in the budget here and narrow it and cut government down, that agriculture sector alone can provide more jobs across the country than these few ministries can provide for $300+ million on those dead spending.
What that has not been done is say impossible. What is holding our political actors and policy actors? What is holding them back from making that investment? Because if you are giving 40% just to run institutions, and the institution, they are just administrative,
right?
Now, I don't see how much dividend they bring in.
No.
I don't consider it as an investment. Then when you look at the investment sector of the country, you are only committing about 12%. Now when I look at it, it's about $57 million.
Right.
That is what you have at investment in your country. So that is not sustainable. Is it difficult to do it? To do a reverse and say, okay, we'll commit at least 40% of the budget, to public sector investment so that we can grow the economy. Is that impossible? Because that has not been done, and we all been dancing around this.
So sorry, Mr. Namwe, but let me just come in quick. So, Mr. C,
yeah,
I will shock you with this information again. It's just sheer greed. Sheer greed. People. That's why our politicians are millionaires overnight. That's why they fight for government positions. That's why they burn Capitol building down to get position, to maintain titles. That's why they disregard the rule of law. They throw the Constitution away. They throw the Supreme Court away if they were tempered with that money that they're going to get because of the title they're carrying. Let me shock you with this. This 2025 national budget went to the National Legislature. The budget line you had like social development.
Yeah.
they only put their $28 million, not 28 million, but in the draft budget, they put their $14 million in the draft budget for social development. The legislature cut it down by $2 million and reduced it from 14 million to 12 million for social development. Cut it down. Now you talk about infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
Infrastructure and basic services. Infrastructure and basic services, the draft budget have 71 million in it. The guys cut it down to 70 million. But mind you, these are when you say infrastructure, we say to MVTC, the training, the skills training program, whatever skills training program, technical training program got across the country. Let's just say electronics, let's say electrical, masonry, plumbing, and whatever else, carpentry. Let's just imagine if we say we're putting 200, maybe one, I won't go too much, $100 million in here for infrastructure. But this infrastructure input is going to build low housing for in all of the 15 counties. We're going to build low housing, but we will employ the very kids in the technical schools to do the job. Won't we employ a majority of our people? Won't they have money in the pocket to pay taxes? That's how people develop world. When you hear the American people saying we want to boost the economy, Mr. C, why will you hear? And you hear they say they want to build bridges,
Right.
they want to build roads, they want to build new infrastructure because people will get job. People get job, they will pay taxes. Then the money cycle back to us, leave us infrastructure at the same time, put money per pocket and bring taxes back to us. But no, let me tell you what is under infrastructure. Give me 1 second. Mr. Namasari, let me just under infrastructure. Let me tell you what is under infrastructure. When you hear they say infrastructure, let me tell you what is under it. When you hear infrastructure, listen to what under infrastructure, Mr. C. National Investment Commission, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Ministry of Labor, Liberia Capital Office, Liberia Industrial Free Zone, National Insurance Company Corporation, National Lottery, National Bureau of Concession, Liberia Intellectual Property Office, Liberia Standard Authority, Liberia Special Economic Zone Authority. In other words, again, Mr. C, they're going right back into offices and administration.
So, in addition to what Dr. Pearson is saying, you asked the question, why are we not? It really requires the will, Mr. C. And he used the word greed. I'm not going to disagree with him. All of these where the 87-88% of the budget is going, basically it's where all the kickbacks. You go to the contractors and all of these people. This is where this money is going, and that's how it comes back into the pockets of these people who run these institutions. So it is a choice that has to be made, and it requires the will to do that. I mean, the Burkina Faso is right next door, is not far from us. The young fellow over there, yeah, he's a military guy, but he's doing a lot of wonders. I was watching the other day. He decided he's not going to get any more aid from anywhere else. He's focusing on agriculture. They're doing a lot. The camera pen on the market. The people got so much food. When we were growing up, all we were told, agriculture, Burkina Faso that time, it was, I think, Upper Volta or whatever. All they had was peanuts. But right now, you look in the people market, they have almost all the food, like Dr. Pearson is saying. If you take that money and put it into agriculture, you'll still provide employment. There will be a lot of jobs to go around. But in the same vein, I will be feeding ourselves and growing to maybe even export and make some money. But it will really require the will. The will has to be there to turn this thing upside down. I was listening to the former finance minister, like Dr. Pearson was saying. He was saying the ECOWAS companies that passed, there's an agreement that all of the countries will be spending not less than 15% on the health sector. I think we're spending less than 2% on our health sector. So it's a choice that has to be made. And this is what I was saying. That does not seem to be reflected in this budget that we're looking at. Because that's where you tell what this government's priorities are, what this government seeks to do for our people. So, this president, he has $773 million that is going towards salary and entertainment and scratch card. You know, he's flying all over the place looking for money. From where? The money is in there. It's in country, Mr. President. The money is in country. You just have to look your friend of 60 years or so in the eye and tell them, no, we can't do it this way. You got to look your son, your nephew, your cousin, you know, in your eye, dead eye, and say, no, we cannot do it this way. This is what we need to do. Those are the hard decisions that have to be made. You know, I understand the president, nice guy. I don't know him personally. You know, when he came to the UPP, I was out with the UN working. I never really met him. I don't know him personally. But a lot of people say, you know, he's a man of, you know, he's loyal. You know, he's a man of integrity. You know, he's very, very, you know, committed to his friends and all of that. You know, so maybe he's having difficulty saying no to his friends, but he has to. He has to. You know, and I was saying the other day, you know, he has to recognize the sanctity of the assignment that he's got. 5 million people got together and said, Mr. Boaka, you're the one we trust to help us out of this. He has to understand that a lot of us depend on him. He has to deliver. He has to make the hard decisions. And this budget doesn't show us that any hard decisions have been made. No. Basically, it's the same old. It's not what they promised us. No business as usual.
And you know, talking about no business as usual, that is the phrase, the statement that came from the president, that there will be no business as usual. But what we see, and I continue to tell people, this is worse than even business as usual. Dr. Pearson cited a very good example here when concerning the U.S. When Obama came, the U.S. economy was melting. People, the government was shelling. I mean, yeah, the whole country, the economy was shelling jobs. People were committing suicide. The oil industry crashed. The housing market crashed. There are examples. Even you don't have to be an economist. No. There are examples, multiple examples, decisions that other leaders made for them to go into recovery.
Yeah.
It was simple. The Obama administration came out with, I remember the fee was $880 billion stimulus. Where they decided to spend the money? Infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, when they put the money out to invest it in infrastructure, now those who are in construction now, they got back to work. Mm-hmm. And now the construction company, now they have to buy from people who are selling building materials. Mm-hmm. So the money start going across, and in no time the economy bounce back. Mm-hmm. They build out the U.S. industry so that it will not collapse completely. Mm-hmm. Saving jobs. Mm-hmm. When it comes to Liberia, it should even be very simple because it's a very small economy we're talking about here. You're not talking about 5 million employees. In fact, our population is about 5 million. So people of working age, they're not 5 million.
I think the government has 70,000. And that's what I heard. That's
about 70,000 or so. That is the figure.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I can be so sure. I said, but why are these people? You have a youth population that appears in mention, the Zogos. How are you training these people? What's the money you set aside to keep them busy, to give them employable skills? They all talk about how the Unity Party will tell us about agriculture, especially the president. Some people see him as the agricultural president. Where is the appropriation for agriculture? Since the president what they set aside for agriculture has not reached 10 billion. 10 billion. That's not.
Mr. C, let me just jump in that quick, just quick.
Go ahead.
Do you know, and I was shocking with this also, do you know that just one representative office has 17 staff assigned to that place, including the lawmaker, everybody. 17 people in that one office, right? two room space. They want to enter in the first room when you pass, go to the honorable mayor office. 17 people will be serving in that office space. 73 lawmakers. When you put them together, they're making more than $19,000 every month. If you put that $19,000, just that one lawmaker office, $19,000 every month. If you tell me about 12 months, that lawmaker in your office spending more than $200,000 every month on salary and a few slip. When you turn that 200 times 73 lawmakers. You're spending over $16 million. And how much we put in the budget for agriculture? 15 million. I'm not talking about all the other benefits for senators and senators' office staff. I'm talking about computer, stationery. I'm talking about $45,000. Only 17 people are assigned to that one office, making $19,000 every month, times 12 months equal $200,000+. If you turn that by 73 people, 73 offices, almost more than $16 million. And then in the budget itself, we only put 15 million for agriculture. In arrest agenda. The first letter A, 15 million. But just office people, just representative offices making 16 million for the whole year. Who's thinking?
So, as I was saying,
wow.
When will we have a government, a president who decides that, look, we have to take out of half or 40% of the budget to invest in this country, to experience growth, because with growth, we'll be able to generate the money we need for all the critical sectors. Can we have a president? Will we ever get a president who will do that? And if it is 60% that is left, it is that 60% that will go across to run a government. Dr. Pearson, another thing you mentioned earlier, and I'll bring Mr. Nambwe on it to comment on it, when you talk about the debt stock, the domestic debt stock. So the area is setting over 80% of the budget to recurring expenses. Bulk of it, you mentioned the figure that going for just running offices and that. So now, despite they making all the fundings available for the running of the offices, they owe in domestic debt. How? That's what I want to know. Pearson, you go. Mr. Nambwe is looking at something else. So if you put so much money in the budget for stationaries, for chairs, and all of these things, how come you are owing this money in domestic debt?
So even in this country,
is that the same D-hole cover all kind of metrics or what?
Let me tell you something. Even in this country, I know Wallace already added, don't compare the US, but even here, right? There is an act, outlawing the use of paper in other places. It's waste. You got computer in order, where you keep printing stuff for, You and I can sit down here, we can do everything we want on the computer. People collaborating in Google Docs and all of that. Why are you still spending so much money? I one time I listened to the president before he came into office, of course. You're talking about, how you're going to build a room full of stationery and all of that, so everybody can look at it. No, we're moving away from that. There's several ways the money can be saved. But look, I continue to come back to the shrinking of the government. The government should not be the single largest employer in the country. That's a mistake. Yes, create the atmosphere. Let the private sector absorb most of the workforce. But the government, the president is still appointing people even to this day. The government is still growing. And that is a mistake. I think we're going in the wrong direction. So we need to shrink the size of government. Some of these appointments, down to town chief, mayors in little towns and all of this. I think he needs to take a look at that. Maybe he needs to really try, I was saying the other day, regional, maybe break the country up into regions instead of every county having its own education officer, health officer, agriculture officer. Maybe you should regionalize the country, the eastern region. I think they do that in Ghana and other places. Have the eastern region cluster these little counties, Maryland, Grant, all of this into one region and have a regional coordinator or director, whatever you want to call that person. Let them run the place. Come to the north and regionalize. That way, you actually, you're shrinking, lean. I don't want to say mean, but you want a lean government, but effective. It can be done. But I think, I don't think this government is looking outside the box, and it's a real far cry from no business as usual. I think I read today, I think some of the boards now, they're saying, some of the people will not be getting both fees and all of that, but the salaries in the president's office, the vice president, all these things, nothing was touched. They're cutting, scratch out and gasoline from other agencies and all of that, so it would take the will, which a lot of us thought this president had. But with this second budget, from what we are seeing,
Are you one of those who thought the president had the political will?
Well, so let me tell you this, and
who,
I know
who had deceived you to believe that?
I know the colors were coming. To be honest with you, when on the spectrum of the candidates we have, I think Ellis Cummings had the best. He was the best option available by what he said and by what he wrote, by what I saw, by the plan he was coming in with. $100 million here to, absorb the young. There's a lot of stuff. So he didn't get the chance to become the president. So this president did. So now when he did, we were hoping, compared to the outgoing CDC president, he might be a better choice. And so that was comforting. And then the first budget came, like I said, okay, we'll say that was a carryover from the pre. But this current budget, this is his budget. This is the budget he developed, he fashioned, and it is really no different from the previous budget. And so that gives me real cause to say, okay, so I think we've lost it. We need to begin to look to 2029. So to answer your question, I don't think the radical change we're looking for is going to happen between now to 2029. I doubt it. I don't think so.
But to get a radical change, you need a radical leader. I don't think our president is a radical leader. He's not. He's never been a radical. I'm not aware of anything he has advocated for. And where we are right now, we are in a difficult place. You and Dr. Percy agree that this is more like a national security threat to the country. All right. So you approve a budget, you pull it at a volume of $880 million, and you arrive at that figure because, just as always, you were hoping that your donor partners will come and chip in a big way. And they have been depending on the donor partners for a significant portion of education, a significant portion of agriculture. So these fundings are not coming. What do? We have to be self-reliant right now. We have to find our way. I mean, you mentioned a guy in Burkina Faso. Look, I want to see a president who comes and decide to ride maybe just 2 cars. But I see the president buying bulletproof cars. He bought one for himself and one for the vice president. No one is chasing the president around. I don't think there are people in Liberia looking for president to assassinate at this time. But this man came to rescue the people who were in the proverbial poo water. He talked about the Zogos. These are people he came to rescue. The over $1 million he spent for bulletproof car could be enough money to get a lot of kids out of the streets and rehabilitate them. So I don't see a leader who is intentional to be able to shift, all right, the paradigm in terms of budgeting, because the thing is unbelievable what the people are doing. I mean, so now I know you want to come in, but let me show you something. Let's look at what they've been setting aside for our accountants. During the Ellen Walker administration, if you look at this chart I have on the board there, the first column, that's accountants. The second one there, that is the county development funds that is set aside for the counties. During the Ellen time, even up to Weir time, it was $200,000 per county for county development funds. This is the second time President Walker administration had called it down to 186, and I can't believe that a meaningless 200,000 as county development fund will be cut down by an administration that came to rescue. I don't know what to, and let's Sam Wallow come and make sense of this, because he feels that we don't like the president. You think this is about liking somebody? It's about doing the right thing for our country. How you come to rescue the counties? George Weah was giving them 200,000, and you call it down to 186. You did not cut down your budget. In fact, you increase your budget. But you cut down what is there for the counties. The same thing can be said about these so-called lawmakers who representing these counties. They sat there and voted for a budget that cut funding for the very counties they represent and increased theirs. That is why I don't have respect for the people that continue to lead our country. Because this thing should be simple. You told us that you were coming to serve. You were here to rescue the people. You were here to improve their human and material condition. You are here to improve services. How do you think you're going to improve services when you're not making the funding available, when you're cutting the funding? How? Mr. Damo, someone got to help me here. If you are cutting money for education, if you are cutting money for agriculture, or what you're putting in there is completely meaningless. But then if you compare that with what you're getting, you are getting far more than what's being set aside for education. Then how are you changing anything? And that is what I said. This is worse than business as usual. So someone help me here, and Dr. Pearson, I got to bring you in. This county development fund has been 200,000. What is the logic for which this government has cut it down to 186? They said that the 200 was too much and was doing good for our people. I want to know.
You know, Mr. C, this is the thing, right? When I hear people like you made a reference, and I think I started off and you followed through, and you made a reference how we turned the economy around in the United States after the recession, when President Obama came to office, and what you mentioned was that he infused money into the economy that changed the economic status of the citizens themselves to earn money. And while they were earning money, the country infrastructure was also being improved upon. And even though you mentioned infrastructure, bridges, roads, and stuff like that, but they also did agriculture as well. They heavily subsidized agriculture and other sectors. You know, Mr. C, you cannot be more than 100%. In fact, I will tell you 110% correct in your argument. If it left for me, we shouldn't even be doing county development funds. You know what I said? That our budget is a mirage. You said development, but let me ask you this, Mr. C. Mm-hmm. You say you want to build a decent house, right? Mm-hmm. And then maybe you guys are 10. You say you want to build a decent house, but you're earning money over years, over 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, earning money progressively. But then you decide to take the money. Every time you're getting money, maybe you get 100,000. Instead of you guys saying, let's take one house and build it to completion, right? And then the next year we'll build the other person's house to completion. By doing that, you leave an intentional outcome of your investment. What we're doing in Liberia, when you see us say we have this budget line for health sector, this other sector, they are all false projection because the money there are not going actually for health. It's going in people's pocket and fuel insignificant projects here and there that will not yield no productive results. I gave you an example. Mr. C, take your time, go in a budget, look under education, under agriculture. You myself just said they gave 15 million for agriculture. Mm-hmm. Go on agriculture. That money on agriculture is split between institutions. The money for agriculture is split between institutions. It is not addressing an aggressive agriculture project, like for example, development of cocoa initiative in Liberia up to industrial level, developing rice production in Liberia at industrial level, or developing what cassava at industrial. No, when we say agriculture in our budget, it's for offices, it's for institutions, it's not for agriculture, production. That's not what it's for. So let me land by saying this. I would not agree with you that we give the kind of piecemeal money across the country to show as a cover up while we steal the bulk of the money in the central town. I would not agree with that. I would say this, Mr. C. Restructure the entire budget. When Dr. Pearson see agriculture in the budget, it means to say it's going to direct agriculture inputs. Direct agriculture input. When I see agriculture, I want to see direct agriculture input. When I see education, I want to see LU, Cottington, Susan Berry, D2A. I don't want to see that. I want to see actual education indicators, not staff salary, teacher salaries, budget, hard in that saying we support education. I want to see what are we saying we're doing. What are we doing in education? Are we bringing all laboratories across the country, in universities across the country, to modern status? That's education input. Are we sending 200 teachers for advanced training? That education input. Those are the tangible inputs that when you do, you see results. Let me. I don't want to take all your time, but let me just give me 1 second again. Let's go to healthcare. Don't just tell me healthcare. We put health sector. Then you say we get 100 million inside. But when I'm going to 100 million, I see JFK, CH running. The other running. When you go check the Mr. CA, it's only for salary payment and lay office materials, because the money you send to CH running can do nothing. It can't even buy fuel for the generator. The hospital is in darkness. JFK in darkness. JFK even got drugs. So when you say health sector input, I want to see how many drugs that will serve the country significantly. Or I want to see research. Those are the kind of things we want the budget to speak to actual developmental. When you say infrastructure, I want to see bridges. I want to see roads. I want to see low housing in investment that will employ people in those activities. And limit all these institutions to operational costs limit them to operational costs, limit them to administrative costs. When you mention institution, it must be operational and administrative. Nothing more, nothing less.
That appears saying I couldn't agree with you more, because again, when you go to the budget, you see that they have $57 million for capital investment.
Right.
So it's no surprise that the bulk of the budget is for administrative purposes. Even the healthcare budget that you lay out to run JFK is more administrative, because when you go down the numbers, you see salary for nurses. Right. So we are talking about critical investment that will lead to productivity. And that productivity now will lead to increase in revenue generation.
Right.
You cited agriculture as an example. How much money do they have there to give to farmers to increase rice production? That is that's what I call investment. Because when you give that farmer, say $20,000 US, he can hire maybe 4 persons to work on that farm. And now, if you are producing maybe 500 bags of rice in a year, he can increase it probably to 200 bags of rice. So that's productivity there. Now, when the competition generates, it might lead to the reduction in prices. Now people will be able to afford rice. Now you have somebody who is working and be able to pay school fee for their child. And it is not intentional like that. The whole budget is like, well, let's just run the government. So that is why they depend on partners to contribute to roads. The $22 million they talked about the last time that Gideons were talking about, no operation, no car stock in the month, they got the money from partners. That is why the legislature are concerned, but where did he get the money from? We don't know anything about it. Am I lying, that piercing? That is the case.
Even car power when it breeze.
Yeah. Even the yellow machines we're talking about, the money did not come from the government. They went and got the money from somewhere. The legislature did not know about it again. What have we set aside as a country to invest in ourselves, to invest in our country, to invest in these sectors that will deliver for the people? The rescue mission must find a way to do it. This is not it. This is business as usual. What they're doing is just the bare minimum. Look, you didn't win government to just run government to pay salaries. Anybody can do that. Joshua did it, and they said Joshua was the worst, and this is what they're doing. So they have to give me something here, and maybe Mr. Namwe can explain to me what they're doing that I'm not understanding. Because this is just administrative stuff. In fact, when it comes to the administrative stuff, they are performing very miserably. And I really want us to come to the accountability side of the budget. Now, you make all these huge projections for these ministries and agencies, for these political bureaucrats. They receive the money. Where is the accountability? If they receive the money, we want to know what these funds were used for the intended purpose. Do we know? Mr. Namwe, that's what I want us to talk about.
Yeah, we done. I mean, I think we're kind of segueing into car power and all of that. The monies that are put in the budget, we don't know how the money is spent, but the outturns is telling us that such and such has been spent. We started with the county development fund. First of all, that money in the county development fund, I don't know why they keep putting in the budget. I know for a fact because I work with the Maryland County Association here. For almost the duration of President Weah's term, that I'm not sure if Ellie even delivered that money. That money probably goes to the county. So it is in the budget. I don't know how it is accounted for, but I know the counties for quite a while, Maryland, Denver, and the counties were not getting that $200,000. So that is in the budget. And then it is being reduced now to $186,000. But the Minnesota budget, the draft budget, the actual approved budget was $20 million more than the initial budget that was proposed. So why they're increasing or the expenditure in the administration, the county development fund is being decreased. Then you have the whole situation with $100,000 being given to legislators for legislative engagement, $150,000 for senators for legislative engagement. This is some of the things we're talking about. All of this money could actually be put to, much better use, maybe again agriculture. So that is that problem. But then there is also the management of our resources, contracts. The government is, I don't know, this government is just coming in. We're yet to see how they'll deliver on their negotiation on contracts. But we're not holding expatriates, responsible to their social corporate contract that is signed with our people. I'm not too familiar with Sister Gora and B. Martin and all of that, but from other people who are closer and read these things, it doesn't seem like these people are delivering on what the promise. Even the president himself got upset. We know at one time, I think he shut B. Martin down for a while. And then we heard for a $200,000 to be paid at a later date. I think the license was given back to them. So that is also a huge problem because these people are taking so much resources out of the country, but they're not surrendering, and the social development contract is not being upheld. And it is difficult to understand too why that is not happening. But it's just a whole accountability problem all over the place. The budgetary allocation, the question marks, then the whole governance structure, making sure we're applying, we're following the rule of law and all of these. It's not happening. And so when you come back to say, maybe we made a wrong choice, then you become the person who is anti this government. But the facts are on the table. We need a radical turn. Either this president is going to become the radical president that we desire, or maybe he's not ready. Maybe he needs to let us know. Somebody else needs to come on board. But there are some real radical decisions that need to be taken. For instance, the other day we were talking about a part-time legislature. The legislature consumes a lot of money in that country for doing nothing. Dr. Pearson just ran down the list of people, one person, 17 or so, or $20 million, whatever, $20,000 per month. He just did the math. That is just the legislature. Maybe there's too much money going in there. We need to take that money and redirect it. How do we do that? We were saying this aid call from the U.S. could probably be an opportunity in disguise so that this president can now pick this thing up and say, you know what? We have an international emergency. We need to do some things that we may have to seek suspension of some parts of our legal obligation to allow us to disentangle and do some of these things so that we can raise the money we need. We need to cut salary, for instance. I don't know what the law is, but I know President Weah was able to do harmonization, and many people didn't like that. But it tells me something can be done with the salary. Some adjustment can be done. But I don't think that is what we're seeing in this budget. Budget is the same. They're putting down people, but the wage bill has gone up as opposed to going down. So we're going in the opposite direction, in my opinion.
In a debate, last Friday debate, Dr. Pearson couldn't have put it so truthfully. And I will paraphrase the entire thing he said by saying, we are just waiting for the president. When Daniel asked the question, what can be done now in the immediate term? And he said, hey, the president can today say, look, Mr. Grispe, Mr. Oxford Twelve, you lied to me. Your advice to me on the fracas in the lower house was bad. And now, because of your advice and the decision that was made, the whole thing is ultra-virus, you are fired. If the president said, look, let's look at LTA, those people getting $15,000 with a stroke of a pen, I'm cutting it down to $3,000 right now. In fact, those guys are getting $3,000 for a generator. You're not even getting $3,000. Maybe you will get just $500 for a generator. It can be done. On day one, the president can do that. And on day one, the president came up with a fake suspension, and some people were celebrating that nonsense. And those people just went to LACC the next day and they were on the job. How you say you suspend somebody, the person is keeping their ID card, their cards, and they were still entitled to those things. And you're telling me they are suspended while they were still on the job. So there's so much the president can do when it comes to the budget right now. The president can order and request that the budget be redone right now. This president should be a president who is a legacy president. This president should not be afraid to lose anything other than to gain everything by doing the right thing. The president does not seem to be treading that path. That appears in the president does not seem to be treading that path.
So let me just.
I really don't know where this appetite came from. And I will mention it again for bulletproof car in this economy. I don't see where the appetite came from for private jet in this economy. I don't see where the appetite is coming from for $3.4 million budget for the office of the president. I really don't see why our state enterprises are not contributing anything significant to our budget. What is MPA contributing to the budget? We have an emergency right now. Does the president even understand that we are in a crisis as we speak? How much is FPRC contributing to the budget? We don't know. And other state enterprises that are generating revenue, do we know what they're contributing to the budget? Can anybody help me here? I tried to read the budget to see the sources of revenue. I didn't see what is coming from FPRC. So I don't see why it's coming from Freeport. What are they doing? They collect the taxes and then what?
We depend on partners.
They pay their salary and then what? The other
international partners.
The managing director for Freeport, I don't know, I don't remember the figure. I know it was $6 million. He said he contributed to the budget that he gave to just to realize that it was a lie. He had lied to the country about that. And that man keeps his job. This is the situation we're in now. So that appears in. How do we get away from this business as usual with the budget? Is this the legislature that can say, well, Mr. President, I think we'll appeal to your good conscience for us to go and redo this budget here. Let us eliminate all these fabulous salaries. Let us forget about buying cars for government officials. If they're making $5,000, they can go and get a rent. They can go and get a car on loan.
But I believe the legislature.
Why is this difficult? Will it kill this country?
I believe the legislature already made that proposal. I believe Snow and somebody else I've already called on the president to take notice of this action from the U.S. I think that was a signal to the executive that we need to re-review the budget and probably recast the budget. I think they've already done that. But I think the ball is in the court of the executive. What I wanted to say before Dr. Pearson comes in real quickly for the handlers of this president. I'm not a political advisor for the president. Wallow Deng can go tell him. What are the optics when the people in the country are sweating, are suffering in sweltering heat every day because no LEC, and you're giving people $3,000, $4,000 a month for generator? What does that say to your supporters? What are the optics of that as a politician? The general populace is in darkness. They're in heat. They're sweating every day because no electricity there. But you got in the budget there, you have $5,000 there for generator for one person. How does that what are the optics of that? And obviously the people are taking notice. So I want the handlers who are advising this president, I wanted to answer me that. What sense does that make? The person who is of course going to queue out tomorrow and go to the polls and vote. The people are crying day in, day out. There is no electricity, but you got money in the budget. You're giving select people for fuel, for diesel, for generators.
Look, Mr. C. Now we're asking about advisors. If people taking advice from people that same water, then like the people then who say they're advising the president, then no wonder where we are. Like Sam Waller is one of the major contributors, right? So looking at the chat he posting, he has posted about 3 or 4 billions. There are 2 billion here, 1 billion there, another one. And your national budget can't even pass 900,000. So those are the fictitious
900 million, 9,000, 900 million.
Yeah, those are the fictitious people around the president. They make up stories. The blow went into the president's head and tell him, let me waiting. It's in the works. MOU here for 2 billion in the works. Another MOU there for money in the works, 1 billion. But the money has no significance in its value if it is not available for expenditure. You can have a check in your hand written for $3 million. If that check is not cashable, if you cannot cash that check, you cannot liquidate that check. That check is of no value to you. So your multiple MOU or your multiple in the works, 2 billion, 3 billion hanging in the breeze, those are infinitesimal to the process. They seem to go for the MCC. You celebrate the MCC, you cost people money, you cost people power. MCC now is hanging in limbo. It's not physical cash. Now let me go to your look, Mr. C. You couldn't have said it better. President Boyka, I think by the virtue of the fact he said he was a rescue government, suggested a change government. A government serious about change is robust when it becomes chaotic to the status quo. What do I mean? Look at Elon Musk, look at Donald Trump. They may be operating outside their bounds and doing things nobody like, but they feel they are change agent. And because they feel they are change agent and they are coming to the table with their expectation of what they want to see, those guys are turning tables, Mr. C. Those guys are rooting up things. You said, I have a video where you said they use it headquarters. You see the people carry the excavator, they carry the men tearing down. You said need for on the wall. It's gone. It's gone. The guys look at the other institution and say, happy. I see 25,000 people here. I want it down to 5,000. It's gone. President Boyka, the national budget is centered around few human beings, and it is a dead budget because it is not going to yield any growth in our economy. We need to put our foot down. Mr. C, you're talking about accountability, right? Accountability starts with our budget envelope. With the budget envelope, you mention SOEs. SOEs for generations, Mr. C, has been presidential eating place for extra cash. Where president go and put money in the car boot and go home and go have party with it. From Tubman time to Toba time to Dole time to President Taylor time. They go to a minute, they take telephone and say, who at the NPA? Put some money in my car trunk and say the boy, they can't put it there. I gotta go do something. Because it's not properly accounted for. I have said, Mr. C, and I'm advocating for that right now. Look, because of this desperate time, President Boyka is on video in one of the international interviews. He said they are wasting government. They get too many people doing the same job. That's why he said. Now he came back. Now he only appointment more than the people who were there before him. What went wrong? President Boyka, we can say it louder. Cut down the government. Cut it down. Duplication of institutions. Cut them down. Merge them. The way you got minister proper, deputy minister for this, for administration, deputy minister for operation, deputy minister for nails cutting, deputy minister for food and services, deputy minister for Kobo shop, cut assistant minister for cleaning nails, cut all those positions down and make them maybe take lanes and mass for lanes, mass and energy. You can narrow down many other bureaus until you got or agencies you got into lanes, mass and energy. And those deputy ministers can sit and preside over some of those areas within one ministry. Reduce it, decentralize the government. Send it down to the counters. Let the money trickle down to actual activities. When the actual activities, Mr. C, for that thing to be funded, let me say this, Mr. C. You can be LPRCO, NPA, maritime. They should ain't no in like bro say you get when say you go buy gas on the road, they say they get phone where they can put to your gas. When you open your gas in the blink and put your gas, they get a phone they can put it there to put the gas inside.
Right.
Or when you get your generator at home, they get a phone they can put your gas so your gas don't spill. LRA should be the only funder through which all source of revenue should pass, Mr. C. Coded revenue that can be linked to different agencies, ministries, and SOEs and stuff like that, and for what that payment is made across the country, but it goes in that one funnel through LTA straight to the Central Bank of the Republic of Liberia in a national revenue account. That account, by being digitized, that account can give you a statistical analysis as to every single place's money coming from, what that money was for, and then you can determine now to give us good report on for income. Expenditure, Mr. C, one spending bill. And when I say one spending bill, don't get me wrong, but somebody will argue with me here, listen to argue and say, oh, that the same thing we're doing, get consolidated account, get one budget. That's not true. Go right now in Liberia, they got something called SOEYEP. They just launched it a few days. You know where it's coming from? SOE's Youth Empowerment Program. You know where it's for? They say they're going to employ youth across the Monserrato to go sweep the road, clean beaches. It's not the CDC were doing. CDC were doing condemn, and we say it was supplementary budget. We said they were wasteful spending. They were accommodating partisans. It's not the same thing they condemn. When Minister of State were dragged to LSCC, it's not the same of the side money that they were doing. Also have regular payroll. It's not the same thing going back to. So my question to you, Mr. C, who gave a month to a Ducle in NPA, whoever in Maritime and other places to decide that they get money, they can take hundreds of thousands that they can take and employ over 2,000, 3,000 youth to go sweep street. Who getting the right? Is that their role and responsibility? How are they accounting for that money? Like you said, why is it not even showing in the national budget? Why can't it be civil service? No. And President Baka, no, let's pray the old man will wake up. Let's pray the old man will wake up. But if the old man does not wake up and they want to get the DSA and the allowances and scratch car and fuse slip, then we in for a long haul. In for a long haul, Mr. C.
Oh, look,
so some of the problems we are having, I'm not sure if we're going to get into K-Power, but let's look at K-Power for instance, right? This is an outfit that many of our partners have looked at and said, no, this is not good investment. From the previous president's time, President Weir's time, right? $6 million in the budget. We're talking about where does the money go? So this outfit is like, you're renting instead of buying your house. You will pay that money. Whether it's 30 years, you're paying rent. At the end of 30 years, you got nothing. No equity, you got nothing. And our partner said, no, look, it is better for us to repair and refurbish, our existing infrastructure, Mount Coffee and all these places. That will have a long-lasting effect. But no, we want to retain K-Power, $6 million in the budget because K-Power is giving the kickbacks, and the kickbacks are going to be immediate. So now here we are, $374,000 somewhere in the budget was appropriated for K-Power, never given to K-Power, but it shows up in the outturn expenditure. It has already been spent out of the budget. So this is why we are prioritizing 88% of that budget over recurring expenditure, because that's where the fat is. All of this stuff we're talking, of investment and development, all of that. No, it's not sexy. It's not juicy. We want immediate kickbacks, and this is how government has been run in Liberia from the time we were kids.
So if you are in Liberia, you can smell the poverty. It greets you. You feel it. You see it on the faces of people. Same word of my arcade that well, the government just coming in, the signing MOUs. MOUs. If MOUs could call it with the volume of MOUs that have been signed in a country where you don't even have 6 million people there, it should be making some impact right now. But I don't think any impact has been felt yet. And Sam Water, we appreciate him because he's always here to hold us accountable in his way and to be part of the conversation. It's obvious that God, he loves FOL and what we do here. It's just that he's on a mission to defend and defend. But he comes to the defense of this government with the facts. I don't know how critical he thinks. Now, you are talking about 5 billion in the other investment. The other one 5 billion. But look at your budget, as that person said. You have a pitiful budget, and these are all projections in the first place. And these projections were also based on donor chipping in. Now, donor is out of the way. You don't even have 880 million. Automatically, it's a complete decline to around 600 million like that. Now, budget shortfall will come. Like we said, these are projections. With the kind of tough time in the country, the government may not be able to raise the revenue. Even when the government succeeds in raising the revenue, there's no accountability to ensure that these funds will go to what they are actually intended for. And if you look at bulk of the budgets intended to just run administration, we're going to ask the minister proper on, say, $100,000 for office operation. Everybody in that office say, okay, yes, sir, bossman. Oh, honorable minister. Oh, honorable minister. No one asks question. No one. You have LSCC that relies on social media before they can take action. Their responsibility is clear. All right? To be on the outlook for corruption and fight it and prevent it. But they sit in the offices that being, funded by taxpayer dollars, and they are on social media looking for the next post from either a Mountain Collie or a Vandela Patrice or maybe Dr. Pearson, all right, highlighting some kind of corruption, let's say at Liberia Fire Service. And now they want to act. This is the kind of government Sam Water is defending. Lazy people who have no plan how to run our institutions. And these are the kind of people we are giving all this money, and he thinks that we are getting anywhere. Mr. Wallo, if all these MOUs you're talking about amount to actually significant revenue generation from this government, why is this government now scared to death? And now our final minister is telling us we should go to our pastors and imam for prayer. Why pray when you have the investment? And your understanding is the investment means serious money in the pockets of the government. These are investment by individuals who want to make profits. Your government officials are getting kickbacks from this government, the MOUs, and they are getting the money first. It is way down the road before a penny will trickle down to the people. And that penny will be penniless. Will be actually meaningless. So, Mr. Wallo, maybe you have not lived in Liberia, and that's why you're saying all these things. Maybe you are so comfortable, living here. That's why you say all these things. But for those of us who live in the real world called Liberia, we know these pronouncements amount to absolutely nothing. The example we gave you about the county development fund, $200,000 was always in the budget for every county. Those counties never receive even 25%. Year after year, same word, we got to be sense in the guy head. The counties, look at 200,000 for the whole country. They have now received 50% year after year. So what makes you think that they are so-called 5 billion investment, the government portion we're getting the government hand, and we're tricking? Look at schools. Look at schools. Look at Tottenham right in the heart of the city, in the Cinco area. Go look at the chalkboards. Year after year. United Party have done a very good job throughout this 12 years it was in government to have done good job with the government schools and have, funded the government schools, equip them. I don't think in 6 years all those things will just disappear like that. I graduated from D2. I'm in touch with students there. So that brother got to help us to be truthful. That's the only help we want from him. I just want to descend on him because it's that
No,
nonsense.
let me one correction. You made a statement, Mr. Sear. You said,
Mhm.
the minister speak and nobody asked questions. I just wanted to correct that.
Please.
The few who do ask, they clamp down on them so fiercely. I mean, Matthew Yemplu is an example
Okay.
from the Minister of Information. Today, Matthew doesn't have a job.
Mhm.
And so there are a few people who dare to say, you know what, Mr. Minister, I think this thing is not the right thing to be done, but they're intolerant to such views. I just want to make that correction.
Mr. Namwe,
And
I
you
saw
talk,
the correction, but we're looking at of the many heads of government agency.
yeah,
I mean, you work in Liberia. I just from Liberia. I have friends who are heads of government agency. I sit in the offices with them. When people enter, bossman, chief, they're buying down.
yeah,
That
yeah,
man is serving you. I'm not saying you shouldn't respect that person. They are so afraid to challenge these people. They see these people as gods. And that's the reason why the president just gets away with everything. And that is why Dr. Pearson was right to say, look, if the president really wants the country to do well, for us to start getting our footing, the president must take the lead. Because this is a man that appoints up to a city mayor, the man appoints up to clan chief, the man is appointing paramount chief.
yeah,
Look at that kind of power. Why
yeah.
do you think the whole country will now be looking up to this man? This man has the life of the country in his hand. So today, when he says, look, all my ministers, no one is taking $300,000 home. Governor buying car for you, we don't have money. From your 300, maybe your $3,000, you can go to Prestige Motor and take an auto loan and be making payment. I think you can afford $200 a month until you can pay that car off. Isn't that what we do here? I need a transformative president who will be thinking in that direction. You know how much money we'll be saving because not only is government buying that car, government is servicing that car, the repair. And the government is assigning driver, the driver is getting paid.
Yeah.
But if these people are responsible for their own cars, if they hire a driver, they will pay that driver. We will save significantly. But who is thinking? Is President Baka thinking about that when he's getting a bulletproof car in a private jet? Of course not. This is what we're talking about, Sam Waddle. I hope the picture has been painted very clearly. Show Labrador some love with this nonsense.
No, he's not settled. He said, where do these concession agreements come from? From MOU. Are we ready to going to celebrate MOU? I mean, come on, man. Come on.
Let me just say something quick. You don't be too hard on Sam. Sam is using a profile, particularly to be on these shows. He one of the top brass. So you go easy on him. He's supposed to be giving us information.
Yeah.
Inside information.
I see Sam laughing. I love this guy. But our man Evans Morris is on the line. Let's get to Mr. Morris yet. He wants to participate. Mr. Morris, let me make adjustment to the volume here. Yes. Evans, you are live. Go ahead, your contribution. You know what we're discussing. You've been following.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sear. And hello to the panelists.
Sorry that I've been too tough. I've been too tough on your friend Sam Waller today.
I wanted to double check if what our father as minister said was actually a real quote or somebody playing hard joke on us. Because if he's talking about prayer and he's a finance guy that deals with numbers, he knows that he has to do the math. If the math is not mathing, that means it's not going to work. But let me just give our president advice. I'm not qualified to give him advice, but let me give him simple advice. During coronavirus time in this country, they did something called essential workers, people who are essential to the economy, essential to the country running. They were allowed to go to work. I think we need to take the opportunity and cut down the government. It will be painful, but in the end, it will actually benefit us because cut down in these different ministries, run a skeleton government. Only essential workers, people who are absolutely necessary for the day-to-day functioning of the government, should be employed. Recast the budget to reflect that. Go into austerity and then use that even if things do get better and we start getting some aid, use that to restructure how we hire and to trim our bureaucracy in Liberia. That would save us a lot of money. This is a golden opportunity financially. If we can take some fiscal responsibilities and cut some people, it will not be politically advantageous for them, but it will be fiscally responsible for the nation. They have to do it. I mean, you have plausible deniability that, well, there's nothing we can do. These are high. If we don't do it, the government will collapse. Give that possibility to the people and fire a lot of these redundant workers and trim this government so that a lot of the other money that was in the budget for their salaries will be able to go to education, healthcare, other things. So for me, I just think the president has to really take the hard decision. He's not running for re-election. I don't think he's going to pry anybody to be a successor that must win at all costs. But even if he loses the next election, he would have done something monumental to cut the wage bill down and to trim this, this government. So let's hope that the president will hear our calls, and I think the sensible people around him will probably do some form of austerity, or they really need to go down to the bare minimum and make sure that the people who are absolutely essential for the government to run effectively are the ones that step in it. Those are the people who are taking 50 out of here, 75 out there, but barely doing anything that's really, really necessary. Cut them. You can save money, and it will be out of a job, but the government will use that money, hopefully effectively, to really transform the lives of the people through education and healthcare. That's my take. I just want to say it.
Evan Morris there. Mr. Morris, thanks for your contribution. And Dr. Pearson, our good friend Sam Water again. One of the achievements of the government is for Ethiopian Airline to start flying to Liberia. That's one of the achievements of the Baka administration. This is a business that decided to go to Liberia, right? And out of a sudden, it's an achievement. It's like me. I just started a business in Liberia. That's an achievement for the Liberian government too. Same way you should include that on your list. Dr. Pearson has a business. He has a school that he's running in Liberia. Add that there. That is an achievement for the government. And Mr. Nawe may be having a project there. Add that there. I mean, come on, man, bro. You can't be serious. you can't be serious.
You gotta give it to him. He tries. Yeah. You know, but I'm not going to. We're going to celebrate MOUs. Come on, man.
And at least if Mr. Baka or the president, has come to the U.S. and has struck a deal with any of the major U.S. airlines to say, look, my man, at least if that one jet you will commit on the route to Liberia once a week, from the president effort, and then I'll say, oh yeah, we must commend the president that the president was able to go to Atlanta, for example, and talk to Delta Airlines and say, look, Delta, Liberia, we want you to at least once a week will make a difference in our country. And then the Ministry of Information now can start putting some out there to attract tourists to our place there to be visiting Liberia. And then we can start making some money, through tourism. I will give the president a plus on that. I was hoping for the president to at least fire all these people who didn't declare their assets and replace them. I was willing to be the president's guy. I was willing to change my profile picture that the president is ready for business. My friend Dr. Pearson got excited so much with that fake suspension and changed the profile picture, but they duped my friend intellectually.
I think I listened to Sam Water too much.
He listened to Sam Water late. Sam Water late convinced you right away. The next day, Eugene Fagon went there, he declared a thing. He said, my man, I finished with my team. I'm back on the job. The accountability there. We gotta do better than that. Gentlemen, I think overall, because the thing about the budget discussion, if you look at the numbers, you understand that the numbers are not pointing in the right direction. Because the very direction these numbers have been pointing year after year, from early time, recurring expenses. You're committing over 50 in some. Only for the past 2 administrations now, they're committing over 80% of the budget to recurring expenses, and our country has now moved an inch in terms of improving our critical infrastructures. Local roads, we are near zero. We're talking about power. I mean, come on. If you went to Ivory Coast, I lived there. Ivory Coast has reliable electricity. It doesn't blink. Go to Ghana. These are countries we got independent, many, many years before them. These are our brothers and sisters in the same region. Ghana has reliable power. We don't have that. And yes, somebody want to respect our leaders for this dismal failure that a country with a population less than 5 million, you cannot provide reliable electricity. I'm not only beating on this administration, but I will do so highly because this is not different from the one we had 12 years ago. This one is not different from the early Mbaka administration. This is the same Unity Party that had 12 years that received significant funding and did a poor job in ensuring that we build the infrastructure that we needed to provide stable electricity. People are suffering in Liberia. I was there, my man, in the night, the current will go, I'll be praying. At least that prayer, because for me, I'm not trying to come back, so I had to pray for the current to come back. And now we have issue now. The LEC folks said that, look, the seven we're getting now are going to be reduced to, I think, the 5 or so. Imagine, even when we had a higher, low of power that they were distributing, it was not enough. It was not stable. How much more now that it has declined to, I think, 5, the low, right? I mean, I can just imagine the human suffering that people are dealing with in the country. People are sweating. And, I mean, it's sad. Businesses are having a hard time. My business is in partnership with radio stations. And sometimes while business is going on, LEC will be gone, poof. The radio station will go off. The program will be interrupted. Some radio station will not be on for 2-3 days. They can't come on to do business because we don't have reliable electricity. And, the solar farm, same one I'm talking about, that money is coming from partners again. We are a begging nation, and while we beg, we are the most paid and riding the most expensive car, including our president driving a bulletproof car. He's begging people who are not using bulletproof car for money. He's begging them. How does it make sense? You are the leader. You must be the example. Look at the president budget. Compare it with the budget of other presidents. That is way too much for a poor country that is suffering. We have to do better. The president needs to set the lead down, to take the lead on this budgeting. The way it has been going on and on and on, it's not sustainable. It's pointing in the right direction. And that's why poverty has always been our portion, because we are not, appropriating the budget in a way that it will lead to growth, and so that we can accrue the dividend at the end of the day and make much more investment in our country. We can do this. This is not impossible. This is not impossible. The population is small, and so when we make significant investment, what we will generate might be way too much for us to consume and even start to supply other people. Ivory Coast is an example. Ivory Coast is generating significant power. So that is why they are even able to distribute. Mr. Namwe, you are here. This is a fact.
That's right. And I know we're closing in, and thank you all for the show tonight. But I just like to re-echo here. We're talking on the budget. This is, we can't overemphasize this. We have a looming calamity. There is a huge problem that's coming towards us, and we as a nation, led by the president, we really have to act quickly. I mean, look, even with the presence of these partners who are now beginning to pull away, there was always a budget shortfall. We make the projection. We never really collect all of the money. Last year I think it was $35 million budget shortfall. That is with the assistance. And now that all of this is going to be taken away, there's no telling, how many holes this is going to put in the budget. So we're calling on the leadership. They need to really quickly, gather around. I read some of the actions that they're proposing. They're cutting down on gasoline, cutting down on scratch car. When a certain number of people will travel first class, certain kinds of ministers, and then defense, foreign affairs, justice, or whatever. What about the other ministers? I mean, they're all ministers. How is it that one minister is more important? I don't get that. But the bottom line is that is insufficient. Yes, I want to thank the president for taking that action that I read, but it is not even close to being sufficient. They need to really, really, really recognize the magnitude of
Mr. Number. You people could thank people. You people
for what it is.
Let people. I mean, this is something we've been saying. I mean, imagine you and I have been, on this road telling our people, cut down this thing. They are only trying to do it now because a foreign power is pulling help away from them.
Yeah. And
we have people who are leading us. They don't have respect for us.
Where Dr. Pearson was reporting, the EU, they themselves, they benefit from this government, and the government is pulling away. They themselves, they had to make adjustment. So we had the European Union in Liberia, they also help us with some of our development projects. They themselves now, they will begin to pull back. So it is going to really crush us from many directions. We need to quickly recognize this thing coming towards us and take real decisive action. It's a national emergency. This is a national security issue.
Paying attention. He's not listening to all the solutions we've been providing here that the government, by the president, should take the lead. Is he not paying attention? Is he somewhere else?
Let me help Sam hold on something.
Please help our brother.
Back in the day, we had Mr. Tue. Some of us knew, not everybody knew, but Mr. Tue had a fake Facebook page account, and he used to communicate through that on social media, to provide information, right? Mm-hmm. So I know Sam Wallow, he's not who he's portraying to be down there. That account, that Bugos account. But maybe he got voice, so that's why they're pushing. But listen, Sam Wallow rather, Dr. Nuta from Ministry of Agriculture developed an agriculture plan. A major component of that agriculture plan is to open the Agriculture and Development Bank. We used to have Agriculture Bank on Water Street there, down Water Side there, Mr. Sia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
So a major part of that plan is to open the National Agriculture and Development Bank. So what the bank's supposed to do is, where commercial banks, we said government owned commercial bank over 200 plus million, so the bank don't have enough, it's not liquid enough to give huge loan to other Liberian entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So that commercial bank, through the Ministry of Agriculture initiative that he tried to project for this budget year that he didn't put there, supposed to have provided a soft landing for assistance to agriculture and other developmental initiative. If we decide, the man was only asking, the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Nuta, was only asking for 10 million. And you remember, I only told you the office staff, then only in the representative office, they spend over 16.8 million. Yeah. Just for office staff spending. This guy was only asking for 10 million. We prefer to give 16 million per pocket and we deny him the 10 million. What the 10 million we're going to do? When the 10 million have come in this guy here, when you look at the plan, they're supposed to open the National Agriculture and Development Bank. However name they want to call it, but as a bank, they're going to do Agriculture Bank. That bank is supposed to be designed to streamline all of the funding, development funding into agriculture. And one of the ideas there is that to promote existing farmers with the needed inputs and resources that they need to go big, to go industrial. Yes. So says Mr. Sia got cocoa farm. Instead of Mr. Sia doing 10 bags of cocoa, 5 bags of cocoa, the bank will empower Mr. Sia through a cooperative, meaning all the cocoa producers come together, make a cooperative, and empower them that they will produce on an industrial level. And imagine, if you, depending on how many hectares you farm, you might employ multiple people. And don't forget that the people that got to work on the farm, the people that sort of drive the car to haul all the produce, the people who got trucks to haul the produce, making money, people who go build warehouses in the process is going to make money, people who man the warehouses going to make money, by transporting from the warehouse to the meat or market ground, it's going to make money. Then the intention also to invest into some of our brothers. Mr. Sia, go to Liberia, some of our brothers got factory, but they're producing on a small scale.
Right.
So his plan, the agriculture plan in Liberia right now that Dr. Nuta has, could pump money to the National Agriculture Bank, pump money into the local Liberian factories and make it bigger. to continue to absorb the agricultural output, which means what you getting out of the farming product, to get it out of there. We got one of the most sophisticated warehouses in Liberia. Go check it up online, Mr. See the guys in Jabiri. One of the most sophisticated warehouses in Liberia now, powered by solar panel, clean energy. It's a private investment.
Yeah, I saw that.
But mind, how much business would they have to promote that facility? It's a question. So we leave that, and we are happy to put millions in individual poor pocket, but you can see that guy vision that will yield dividend. The guy got the country split into agricultural zones. Then each zone will tackle certain cash crop or certain crop and produce in mass production that will create employment, reduce youth unemployment, all that kind of thing, and create money for the people in the different countries. It's also part of decentralization. The guy said the guy went in the budget committee room. He argued, almost cried blood. Gentlemen, you gave me that 10, you gave me that 10 million back. Gentlemen, you gave me that 10. Let me open the bank. Gentlemen, you gave me the 10. The man said, no. But they were able to put 20 million on the initial draft budget for public administration. I was just calling all the ministries. They put 20 million in there in additional money, but they couldn't give the guy 10 more million for agriculture for the guy to open our bank.
They were able to make money available right away to renovate the capital building that burned.
But that money going back to President Bunker because in a $300 million bracket of public administration. So it goes back to a travel allowance, it goes back to entertainment, it goes back to them. It does not go to dividends. We can say the same about electricity. How long has Firestone sat on a small Farmington River and produced electricity for the entire Firestone compound and 8 adjacent neighbors all the way to Smirnotis?
So, Dr. Pearson, I couldn't help it but to quickly chime in the position you just stated. That was the thesis of the Progressive Alliance of Liberia. That was the thesis. Band the local farmer together. They can't afford to mechanize themselves, but band them together into cooperative, give them the funding so they'll be able to pay the bank, but that way they become more efficient. That's all you PAL was saying to talk about. Let the people help them. Right now, they're doing subsistence farming. One man cut a little piece of something. By the time the next farming season comes, he's hungry. But help them into cooperatives, then give them the machinery they need, the banks, and they together they will pay the bank back. But that way, they become more efficient farmers. That's just what you said.
The government has to really find a way to turn this thing around. We can have one government at a time. This government needs to rescue our people. The government needs to rescue. I agree with them. The country needs rescuing.
Yeah.
If they can't do it now, that means in the next 5 years, the nation will not be rescued. They will choose some other people to rescue them, to rescue our country. So we are appealing to their good conscience to do so, and we will be tough on them to do so. We're not begging them, we give them a responsibility to deliver and not a responsibility to fail. But we are not paying them to do the bare minimum or to subscribe to the foolishness of minimalism. We've been on the road of minimalism. We have not gone anywhere. I like the example that Pearson gave. I visited a young Liberian factory who is producing tar soap, liquid soap, hand sanitizers, and all of the things hospital people need for cleaning.
Exactly.
We visited a little factory. Not only is he producing the product there, he's able to bottle the products in that same place. In addition to that, he has a shop in front of the house where the products are sold in retail.
There you go.
He's in contact with the retail stores in Liberia. They are buying from him in bulk. This is a Liberian that is really, I was marveled by what he's doing. My friend Josiah and I, we had to go to Ozozo at the Carol Lutheran Hospital. He had to speak there, and we wanted to make a donation. We went and bought huge quantity of those things from the guy. He even gave her additional ones because we went to patronize him. And we took them to that hospital, and the people were happy.
But Mr.
country, they just need their government to support them.
That's the kind of empowerment we're talking about. Look, I know a kid couple of kids, like I said the other day, they sit around by the street side, but they had a little internet cafe. You know, they got a little wire running to the generator. Some of them they just need $300 to boost their little business up. The kid came to me, Papi. You know, he wanted $250, $300. He wanted to get himself a printer, a little something and set up. I have a nephew who is into the printing press business, but he's losing contract because he needs a 3D. He needs a printer that has the capacity to print large volume. He doesn't have that. So when the school is coming, they get this contract, but he doesn't have the capacity to print large volume, something like that. So he needs help. That's the kind of thing. Private people we're helping, but the government can do it much better and quicker than we're able to do. But that's the kind of thing we're talking about. Create that little pool where the people can go get a loan, go and set up their business. These people will employ other people, and the other people will employ other people. That's how it's done. These big governments you see, so that the mom and pop big shop, they're the biggest supporters to the economy. It's not these big factories and things. No, the little people, they're the ones who are the major, finance contributors to the economy of these big nations that we see. So,
I mean, the cup of rice that is so in the country, we're buying it every day.
Exactly.
Every day. Exactly. All right, and that's how the government generates money. And so, empowering these people to have jobs will make them to increase the purchasing power in the country. When the purchasing power in the country is good enough, then you can see that the economy will grow. If you have a country where, and the thing is, why would investor want to go to Liberia when they look at the purchasing power that is very low?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why would the person want to? So the government have to find a way to increase the purchasing power in the country. Somebody say, well, I want to carry a branch of Walmart to Liberia. But how many Liberians are working who can afford to go to Walmart? How many Liberians are working can afford to go to a supermarket, for example, if not a big shop? The big shop people will not call it. They will not call it. And the whole thing about employment also is security in itself. Yeah. When that person is able to earn an income to take care of the family, you will have no reason to go and steal. So the government need to look at this thing critically. We are tired of this useless portfolio. Minister there, Minister, and then the man he has no ideas. He's bankrupt. He's drunk on Friday night because he said it's weekend. So Saturday he slept, and Sunday he slept, and now Monday he in the office. I mean, that man has no vision. How to transform that place. We have to get away from this. Gentlemen, I think we did justice to the discussion. Sam Wallow disagree about the Liberian.
He disagreed. I was about to say that.
But the Liberian people agree with us. Mamusu, who is hurting in Douala, she agrees with us. The Yanam boy down there, who they telling my man, your keke, you can't go on the side because that side is too good for you. They agree with us. So let's close, and let me start with you, Victor Nangwe, you're closing.
Thank you very much, Mr. C, Dr. Pearson, and thank you too, Mr. Wallow, and to our audience out there. Look, all we're trying to do here, we're not being smart or anything. We don't think we know it. I mean, not even close. We're just trying to help and put our own little ideas on the table. That's all we're doing. Our people are suffering really, really, like real suffering. It's not like here where you can downgrade your expenditure and make ends meet. Our people don't even have anything to downgrade from. They're already down there, and that's all we're talking here. So the budget that we just saw, 88% just going to entertainment, fuel, and all of that. Is that really fair to our people? That's all we're saying. It's not fair. Then we need to turn this thing upside down. 88% is going to infrastructure, is going to, developing investment and all of that. We'll not be sitting here and talking about that. We'll all praise this president. But we're hoping, that he will find the time. Except that, not many people can wait. The people are really, really facing, life and death decisions here. So we're urging them to please, hurry up. We have that problem now that is being compounded by this whole U.S. action. So there are very, very difficult times ahead in Liberia if we don't brace ourselves, and very squarely address this thing that's coming towards us. It's going to get ugly. It is going to get ugly. So we're urging them to please, they're calling the shots for our people. They should do the best by our people and try to help, address our people's plight. Thank you very much for the show.
All right, Dr. Pearson. You are muted, Dr. Pearson. You're closing. Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's a pleasure being on the show tonight. It was a great show. I want to thank our listeners out there and our viewers for joining us. Mr. Nangmo, it was a pleasure having you on the show tonight. I just want to say this, to anyone who is listening. I think it's a spilled milk. We call on the president to recast this budget. I'm sure they will do that. But I think this entire budget is a flap as the previous ones was. And Mr. President, going in 2026, I know we have the opportunity to do this again. This should not be the budget format going to 2026. I think by 2026, we should be able to map out all of our income streams for revenue and have a single source of generating our revenue through LRA, and then be able to code it to wherever institution that's supposed to be accounting for it. But through LRA, straight to a national revenue account, not the consolidated account, because other people get separate accounts sitting now somewhere. No. I mean, every revenue generator goes directly into that national account from where the budget will be executed. And I just want to say, Mr. President, please let us have a one spending bill. Let us not have people doing the things in different places, everybody doing their own thing. And when we do the budget next time, please, Mr. President, when we say health, investment, when we say education investment, it should be project related, tangible programs that we can see that will make an impact to change that sector we're talking about. Not offices. Offices should be captured separately on operational and administrative costs. When it comes to investment for public investment, let it be strictly programmatic. Mr. President, please, we don't want to have our national budget, 42% of our national budget going to compensation, 18% going to goods and services, that's 60%. 87% on recurring expense, only 12% on that investment I'm talking about. It's not healthy for us. It's not good for us. And I want to say we can do better. And I'm believing in you that you will wake up. I hope Sam will meet you tomorrow when you go to work and he can tell you and bring you up to speed so we can make some changes. Thank you.
Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough. You did justice to the topic. You were tough, but it's internationalistic on the issue. We have to speak the truth to our leaders so that they can make the necessary adjustment to change the dynamics in the country. We all agree things are tough. The president says in a no. But his way of governing the country, it is like 100-degree contradiction to the reality on the ground. And there where my disappointment ends. When you are leading a country that has a meaningless budget of 880 million, that's sad. And now you think it makes sense to get a car that is bulletproof and above $1 million? Are you making sense, Mr. President? What is that car doing for you? What dividend does that car bring to Liberia? How does that car improve the living condition of any citizen in that country? You can have accident tomorrow, that car is gone. If you have taken that $1 million, all right, and say, okay, I'm going to Lofa, I'm going for you. We'll open a factory there through this person that has a business idea who is a Liberian. We're going to pump that money in our Liberian citizen business, encouraging to hire other Liberians, train them, and carry on production of what he wants to do. Mr. Man, you're going to pay back government money, but we're giving you that $1 million to do so. Lives will be changed in a matter of years. And those people will be saluting you, Mr. President. There's no one who would not want to commend their president when the president is doing the right thing. But this useless path of just committing over 80% of the budget to salaries, cars, scrap cars, and generators, it will not help us. It will not help us because it has never. So we can't be doing the same thing over and over. And as Alice Cummings will remind us, and expect that the results will be different. No, the result will be the same because we are doing the same thing. and doing the same thing over and over and expecting different result is sheer insanity. It must change. And it must start with our president. Look, we don't have 5 years to waste. The United Party told us that the 6-year honor year was a waste. And they are right before our eyes, wasting another 6 years. If that is not business as usual, I don't know what that is. And so, Mr. President, be a president of legacy. I hope you will sleep on the right side of your bed tonight. And I hope tomorrow you will be making the necessary changes. The low-hanging fruits are right there. Salaries of the people you appointed. We are told they serve at your way and pleasure. A minute suspension does not change anything. Replacing them with individuals who are ready to bring the transformation we need will get us there. That's how we do this thing. This thing is doable. This thing is not magic. You have the ball of puppet right there. You have all the power in your hands to change things. Use that power for the benefit of the people. Remember, Mr. President, you came to rescue us. You know, right now people are hurting in the country economically. You can't be enjoying like this and you think you're happy. It does not work that way, Mr. President. You are enjoying. We see you enjoying all the time because I see your celebration budget here. Your celebration budget is huge. You know, you're enjoying 3.5. You know, I don't know. The other thing I wanted to ask you guys, I forgot. How is the president getting less than the vice president? And then someone told me about the MPA in the woman pocket, FPRC in the man pocket, NSA in the man pocket. So that one there, they just put in Jeremiah Kuhn.
Dennis, Mr. John, Mr. C.
Yeah.
Just a quick joke. The papa is so clever. All he has to do is to make Jeremiah fee getting more than him. Now all he gotta do.
I think we finish.
All the own account for one.
Anyway, we have to go, folks. Thank you so much, our friend Sam Water. Thank you for always being here. We appreciate your contribution. You spice things up yet, you know, and that's what we are. You know, we appreciate dissent. We're all fighting for the same thing, except that you're walking like Toto. We want to run. Like Joseph Walker said, I'm a race car, put me on the track, you know.
That's
but
right.
Yeah, he walking at Toto. That's a contradiction again, but I got to leave it. The song says we are all Liberians, and that song is taking us home. Until we see you again, enjoy that song. The hour of politics is by. I will be tougher. People have been asking me, but Anthony, your own sister and brother were in power. You used to be sweating and talking about the man government. Send a Papa King. Is it because your friend Josiah in the government, your friend Emmanuel Yakbawa? I say, you'll leave it. That whole Papa, they say we should respect it. So let me get an old man chance. I'm coming back. I'll be tough, and nobody can do jack to me because I'm respectful. I tell the truth, and so even it bites them anywhere, it bites them. They say, my man, like the party people used to say, my man Anthony, my man, leave our Papa alone. This is Anthony Casali, who is in the executive mansion today. He used to call me and say, my Peking, my man, leave our old man alone small. We beg you. I said, but Kezo, the people in Labrador hearing it, say, my Peking, move from here, man, coming fool us here. Like
but yesterday, you remember when I came from Atlanta, I was telling you, I said, well, we need to give people space to plan the fear about, oh, he came from Atlanta, he lowering the puppy eye and all of that. That is talking. We try to get them the space, you know, to plant their feet and govern, but it's been 12 months.
But Anthony, what is it happening to the race car?
The race car is now on the track now. Go by in the garage. Go by in the garage. All right, we have to go. Sentence again. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the sun. We are all Liberians, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye, guys.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.